this a lot of thought, Nick, and I want to run it by you.
Sure.
I think the surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, Mantar. Everything has a more real sports feel, and it gets you invested that much more.
The dude's teeth aren't probably as big either.
It gives it more of a big fight feel. It makes it feel more real. If that glass shatters, I won't be ashamed. There will be happy man tears streaming down my face. Just the goosebumps will be bumped out. I'll hold my arm out like The Rock so you can see my goosebumps. And I'll have happy man tears coming down my face if that glass shatters. Oh, my goodness.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Bonjour, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, episode 119, Carte, sujette, changement, Presents Backlash Oui Oui. I promise you that probably all the French I speak this episode. It's been a few years since I've had a French course, but I can speak un peu French. That means a little French. So for our audience out there that appreciates my French speaking, there you go. That's about all you're going to get this episode. Welcome to the show. I am your host, never wrong, Nick Bull. Joining me is my tag team partner, co-champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network. Of course, we couldn't do this show without the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. I am not exhausted anymore. Little tired, but I hit a wall yesterday. Otherwise, we would have been doing this show last night.
We apologize to our listeners who were depending on us for last night's show. We both hit the wall. It was a big day at the Sander Lee Memorial Car Show out of the Rock Island County Fairgrounds. We had such a great time with that, interviewing wrestlers out there, interacting with the wrestlers. We will have another show coming up with all of that stuff that we had from there. But CZ's day started way earlier than most of ours did yesterday. CZ had his hands full. He had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity yesterday to go to the airport and pick up a WWE Hall of Famer and then get them back here for the car show yesterday. CZ, talk about how that went down and pretty much the reason why you hit the wall yesterday. You were up pretty much all day yesterday.
Almost literally all day. I went to bed Friday night about 7:00 and was up by midnight. Not by choice. Well, by choice, but midnight, not by choice. I would have preferred to get another hour of sleep, but I just couldn't fall back asleep because I was just that buzzed for what was going on. We talked about the Sander Lee Memorial Car Show, the third annual. Ricky Lee messaged me, or we were talking back and forth, knowing we were going to be out there Saturday, Friday afternoon. The one and only Godfather was going to be stuck at the Chicago airport for 4 hours from 5 a.m. until 9 a.m. Would not get into town until 2 to 3 hours after the car show started. But we had a solution. Ricky Lee was like, man, I can't make it out to pick him up while getting the show together, and said, Hey, Wizard, would you like to spend your night driving to Chicago and back to pick up the Godfather from O'Hare Airport? And I sat there and I'm like, do I want to lose sleep to have a 2.5-hour car ride with a WWE Hall of Famer? That lasted a half a second. Of course the answer is yes. Of course the answer is yes. How often how many people can say that they've had a 2.5-hour car ride with a legend in the business, a WWE Hall of Famer, who has brought joy, or in his earlier days, fear to many of the wrestling faithful, including one never wrong Nick Bull on the fear side of things.
Absolutely. Scared the crap out of me as a kid as Papa Shango. But you had the chance to pick up the Godfather, also known as Charles Wright, real name Charles Wright, but played such gimmicks as Kama Mustafa, Papa Shango, the Good Father, the Godfather, among others, and did what was a stand-up guy yesterday when we talked to him. Talk about your guys' car ride back. I know he probably slept some since it was such a late flight, but you had to have some interaction with the Godfather. And look at it this way, CZ. I know there probably weren't any hoes on the hoe train, but you were essentially driving the hoe train.
You had to find a way to sneak that in, didn't you? So, oh my, we're already off the rails, and it's not even. No, it was. I got to the airport. I was about a half hour before his flight landed, so I just kind of chilled there. Ricky called me about 5:30 and said, "Hey, are you at the airport?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I am." Well, give the Godfather a call, because he's there and he's not sure where he needs to go. So I called him. I'm like, I called him. I addressed him by his proper name. I said, "Charles, I'm waiting outside. I'm on Terminal 1, and this is the gate I'm sitting at. But if that's not where you're at, I will come to you." So I drove up a little bit to where he was, helped him get his bags in the car, and we went from there. The trip was quiet for an extent. He didn't really sleep. He was just kind of taking everything in. He said he slept on the car ride, but
On the plane ride.
the plane ride, yes.
Yep.
Sorry. The moments of conversation, he's a class act. He was very thankful and appreciative, and I told him I'm humbled here, because my whole year, I don't think there's going to be anything to top that in 2024. If there is, I can't imagine what it would be. But out of respect to the Godfather, I'm not going to share the exact stories, but I'll kind of touch on some of the highlights. He was very fascinated about the farmlands as we were driving through Illinois. I mean, Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, it's pretty much a boring drive, especially going down I-88 in Illinois. You're just barely any stops, bunch of cornfields, but he was fascinated by the silos, and I tried to tell him everything I could. I don't know much about how that works, but pretty sure they load the grain in up top, and it's a storage container, and he's very fascinated. He said he was going to look that up. Excuse me.
Now, granted, this is a guy coming from Las Vegas, so the hustle and bustle of the big city he's used to, but not seeing the rural part of America, other than probably going out to these wrestling shows, is when he gets a chance to see it. So he got a quick tour on 88, man, and 88 such a boring drive, man. That is such a boring drive, but you had a Hall of Famer in the car with you, and that's one thing. Hey, little did you know how many places this podcast was going to take you, right?
Right. I can't believe, I'm just beside myself. I loved that entire experience. We talked about what he does now. Doesn't really follow the wrestling business anymore, and I can understand that. He said, once I retired, I was out, and I totally get that. But we did get to talk a little bit of wrestling, talked about shitty gimmicks and the potential of leaving the spotlight because of said shitty gimmicks. I'm not going to name what they are. I'm sure if you're a wrestling fan, you could probably guess. But just a great all-around guy. Very nice to talk to. Stopped and got some coffee at about the halfway point, because he's like, I need some coffee so that I can stay up. I understand. Happy to stop. I gotta do the bathroom moves anyway. So it was a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, later on you'll definitely see. He took some time out of his busy day yesterday and spoke with the Card Subject to Change, spoke with us yesterday out at the car show, and just a stand-up guy. Looks great. Still looks like he could go in the ring after all these years. Looks in great shape and in great spirits, and was gracious enough to spend some time with us as well. So we're very appreciative of that. That will be coming in a later episode that we record later on, but it will be available to you very soon. We promise you that.
Stay tuned to socials. You'll see it pop up very soon. But we're not here to talk about the car show on this episode because yesterday had a lot going on.
It did,
at least in our world.
It absolutely did. After the car show, the Backlash show started over in Lyon, France, at noon our time, and we all made a promise to ourselves, hey, we're going to stay off the phone. It was you, myself, and our production assistant, Dirty Don Feldman, was helping out yesterday with our interviews, and we all made an agreement to stay off our phones. We didn't want to see any spoilers, but one thing we had heard through our friends and messages and stuff is how awesome the crowd was in France, and I think that may be the understatement of the year. This may have been the greatest crowd of a WWE pay-per-view that I can ever remember. They were non-stop. I got goosebumps just sitting here thinking about the chants, the cheers, just how involved the crowd was with that show yesterday. And albeit it was a 5-match card, which doesn't bother us one bit. That just means less for us to review. But I think it gives more time for the matches to breathe, more time for the matches to have their story, to get everything ironed out. And the crowd was behind it 100% from the get-go. And I cannot say enough about the French crowd. The French showed out. The crowd was amazing. Their chants, their cheers, their involvement. I think it just raised everything another level when you consider this whole show talking about Backlash here from France.
The last time the crowd was this hot, in my opinion, was also a Backlash. Was it last year or 2 years ago that the Puerto Rico show?
Puerto Rico was last year, and we thought, wow, this crowd can't be touched. But yesterday, I think France knocked it out of the ballpark. I think that French crowd sits high atop the mountain of best crowds at a pay-per-view that I can remember, maybe of all time. They were phenomenal, CZ.
Oh, amazing. And the only sad part is neither one of us really are fluent in French, so half the time I didn't know what the hell they were saying. But that doesn't matter because the energy they shared with everyone across the world for WWE being in their country. Kudos to you, Lyon, France. Brilliant.
And the energy started on SmackDown the night before. I know you weren't able to see SmackDown since you had an early call to go pick up the Godfather at the airport in Chicago, but the crowd was into it on SmackDown, and I was thinking to myself, if the crowd is half as good as this tomorrow, meaning on the day of Backlash, this pay-per-view is going to be great. And they surpassed it. They were unbelievable. And they really laid it all on the line in that first match. The first match of the show, we get KO and Randy Orton against Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. A ballyhoo ensued at the beginning of the match. Guys jumped each other. They're beating the crap out of each other. They're beating the crap out of security. They're beating the crap out of the referees. When Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, comes out, makes an announcement for them to all stop and says, hey, if this is what you want, great. This is now a street fight, to which the crowd approved, went nuts, and the action just picked up from there.
Oh man, this was hard hitting and brutal and just all over the place. But I think this was a great match, a great introduction to Tama Tonga. This was his first official in-ring match with WWE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Brilliant way for him to enter into his in-ring work. I thought this match was really well put together, and you had to know that something was coming at the end when Nick Aldis made it a street fight. You had to know.
Had to know something was happening. Everybody figures some shenanigans were going to happen. If you look for deeper storytelling, SmackDown ended with these four guys beating the crap out of each other backstage. Show picks up these four guys beating the crap out of each other all over the place. But with the street fight, you knew something was going to happen. A lot of people believed another member of the Bloodline was going to debut. but I think a lot of people thought it was somebody else that was going to debut. It's been rumored that Jacob
Yes.
Fatu has signed with WWE. And if you watch Backlash yesterday, you find out that Jacob Fatu was not the member of the Bloodline that interfered, that debuted, that helped the Bloodline secure the win. It was not Jacob Fatu. Instead, it was Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga's real-life brother, son of Haku, that debuted, made the save, and ensured that the Bloodline would beat Randy Orton and KO yesterday.
Just a fantastic debut. They've been hitting it out of the park. The Bloodline story, I'm sorry, a lot of people thought it was dead. They got the belt off of Roman. And you have to think, where do you go from here? Roman's obviously probably going to be taking some time off. The Bloodline, is it just going to kind of fade away? Oh, no. The commentary team, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, made comments about Solo Sikoa doing a hostile takeover of the Bloodline. It's very obvious that the wise man Paul Heyman, who has always had Roman Reigns' ear and always been in Roman Reigns' ear, is not in control, has absolutely zero control of the Bloodline, and this is just they're just going to run wild.
It looks like he's fearing for his life. He's fearing for the repercussions. He confessed on SmackDown to Nick Aldis that he has not spoken with Roman Reigns since WrestleMania, to which Nick Aldis replied, well, then who pulled Roman Reigns out of the draft? Well, I pulled Roman Reigns out of the draft. So there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. Who is calling the shots? If it's not Roman, who's calling the shots? And that's what's making this storyline interesting. Solo has kind of gone off the rails. He's running things his way. He was always the silent partner when the tribal chief Roman Reigns was around and Paul Heyman had his ear. He was the silent enforcer. We never really heard much. We just saw more actions than anything. We're obviously still seeing action from Solo Sikoa, but we're getting a little more thought, a little more control, a little more leadership role on his part. He's kind of leading this new bloodline, this offshoot of the bloodline. And now with 3 members strong, with Solo Sikoa, with Tama Tonga, and with Tonga Loa, this is going to be interesting how this shapes up this summer as we look for an eventual build, probably to SummerSlam, big stadium show for possibly the blow off with maybe the other part of the bloodline. Who knows? That's the talk right now. But now you got Solo Sikoa, and you've got the former Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan Pro Wrestling with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa at his side. And you got to imagine they're going to be kept strong. Tonga Loa looked strong in his debut yesterday, throwing the steps around and taking out Randy Orton, taking out Kevin Owens. Tama Tonga has been booked to look like $1 million, looked like $1 million yesterday in that match. Just love what they've done so far. They've done everything like they should. WWE is on a roll right now. This pay-per-view, just when you think, oh, it can't match the intensity of WrestleMania and the fun and the excitement of WrestleMania, this pay-per-view said, here, hold my beer. We're going to show you that we can do it. And they did. They did. The opening match was one of the most fun matches I've had the experience of watching in quite some time. It was just constant. It was violent. It was brutal. The commentary team of Graves and Cole were on point again. I wish McAfee could have been on the call, but he must have had something where he couldn't make the flight to France, and that's fine. Graves and Cole were excellent. This match was an excellent start to the show, and we get a new member to the bloodline, and we get Randy Orton and Kevin Owens defeated in the opening contest.
And here's the thing, this new bloodline, every single member is just a huge powerhouse. Solo has been built to be this dominant force, who has always been a silent force, like you said, until Roman has been dethroned and is now coming into his own. But Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, they are so far being booked to just be absolute brutes. And this is going to be fun.
These guys,
I can't wait to see them run roughshod over the whole roster.
You know, we suspend disbelief to some certain extent, right? When we watch wrestling, that's part of it. It's an escape. We suspend disbelief. But these three dudes look like legitimate shit kickers that you would not want to run into at any part of the day, anytime, anywhere. And that just makes it so much better. I mean, they are legit. And when they're in there kicking the crap out of guys, legit tough guys like Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and looking like $1 million doing it, it just makes the whole product look better.
Yes.
Kudos to all the men involved in this. If you get a chance to go back and watch this match, I encourage you to do it. Paul Heyman is just amazing with his looks during this match. When was the last time, or if any time during Roman's run as the tribal chief of the bloodline, CZ, I'm going to ask you this. Did you ever see Paul Heyman draping himself over an opponent and begging the bloodline not to inflict any more punishment?
Oh,
At
never.
the end of that match yesterday, he is over KO, telling Solo and the other two fellows, hey, this is enough. No more, no more. Like, Heyman had sympathy yesterday, and we never saw that when Roman was in charge. But now, like, he is this scared member of this group that he's affiliated with, and he's not sure if he should go tattle to Roman or follow Solo's orders. And that to me, that character dilemma with Paul Heyman is going to be something to watch.
Oh, I completely agree. I can't wait to see where it goes. Nick, let's we've got 4 other matches, but let's take a quick timeout
Let's do.
right now. We'll come back. We've got our good friend and collaborator JT Energy with another moment of focus, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Stay tuned to Card Subject to Change. We'll be back here shortly.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Card Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Welcome back to the show.
Bon retour au spectacle!
Oh, look at you. Look at you with your Google Translator sitting there, you cheater.
You're right. When you're right, and you're never wrong.
Welcome back to episode 119, Carte, sujette, changement, Presents Backlash Oui Oui. Yes, yesterday was Backlash. We just got done talking about the first match of the show. But before we get back into the show and the remaining matches on the card, we need to catch back up with our friend and yours, JT Energy, for this week's, that's right, moment of focus.
Welcome to a very late night edition of a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And you know what we're going to focus on today? Something that's a little different. Usually, it's about what comes out of my mouth. But what we're focusing on now is this. Listen. The silence sometimes it's not about what you say. It's about what you don't say. Think about that. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
You know, JT's not wrong. Sometimes the silence is something to enjoy. And for sure, I definitely enjoy the silence when I can. But getting back to Backlash, that show was anything but silent yesterday. And as we record this show, we're on Sunday afternoon, but you know what time it is. It's Tiffy time. It's always Tiffy time here, if you know what I mean. Second match is for the WWE Women's Championship, where you had Bayley, who won the belt at WrestleMania from Io Sky, taking on in a triple threat match Naomi and one Tiffany Stratton. You know, my thoughts going into this match, there was no way I seen Bayley lose in this match.
No.
After such a story she told and being able to take out Damage Control and finally get that win at WrestleMania. But what I was looking for was positive showings here from the other participants, Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. And ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Stratton is a megastar. She did not need to win this match. She is over like Rover. The fans love her, even though they're not supposed to. She's done a tremendous job in her role as kind of a sneery, bitchy heel. I love it. She's great. The Tiffy time thing has caught on. Everybody loves it in the crowd. They were onto it. So I had my eye on her in this match for more reasons than one, self-admittedly. But I thought she did a really good job in this match. She looked strong. She was booked strong. But Bayley was your eventual winner and held on to the belt.
I couldn't agree more. And having Naomi take the pin was very much the right move. I don't think it would have hurt Tiffany to take the pinfall. I don't think it would have drastically hurt her, but I think it might have derailed her push a little bit. I see the rivalry between Bayley and Tiffany Stratton going on for a while now. I really do. I could see it building all the way to SummerSlam with a big blow off. I'm enjoying what they're doing. I'm enjoying what they're presenting to us with these two ladies. And you know, I've always loved Bayley. Bayley is just amazing. She's fun to watch, but adding new stars into the mix and putting over new talent that deserves the push. This is going to be fantastic. And I think if she hasn't been made already, Bayley is going to make Tiffany Stratton. She's going to be a made lady.
Yeah, I would like to see Tiffany be the one to eventually take it off Bayley after Bayley has a nice, long, sustained run. Tiffany being shown here as an early threat in the titles, an early threat to Bayley's title run, I think is significant. I think it foreshadows a little bit, which is fine if you're a fan of long-term storytelling. But Tiffany being present each week doesn't need to be in the title picture. Now that she lost this match, she can fight her way back into it by being present each week, by being over with the fans. They won't be able to ignore that much longer. She is a megastar and has big title ramifications in her very near future, in my opinion.
Yes, very much so. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what she does. I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm excited, and it's always Tiffy time on Card Subject to Change.
Yeah, most of the time we record on Sundays. We could record on a Wednesday. We could record on a Thursday. Regardless, it's always going to be Tiffy time here. And Tiffy Central Standard Time is what it is.
Yes. So let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship match. We're going in order. Let's keep it going in order. I think as much as I love Jey Uso, this was a much needed win for Damian Priest to help solidify, in my opinion. I think Priest is going to be a good champion. But as much as I love Jey Uso, he's not the one to take it off of Priest. I think he needed this win to, like I said, solidify his championship, especially after cashing in on a prone Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
I had the same thoughts going into this match as I did the women's match. I did not see Damian Priest dropping the belt right after he had won it, much like Bayley. You know, she won it at WrestleMania just like Damian Priest under different circumstances, but I just didn't see either one of them dropping the belts. What I was looking forward to was a strong title defense out of Damian Priest in his first time out there, which we got. I was also looking forward to what kind of match Jey Uso was going to have after that abomination of a match he had with his brother at WrestleMania 41. And
Yes.
Jey Uso had a much better match in this match. And maybe it's a different dance partner, maybe since it wasn't with his brother under different circumstances. But the entrance of Jey Uso really set the tone for this match. You had all the French fans with their phones lit up, doing the wave, a really cool ambiance as Jey Uso came out. Another thing I love, I didn't mention earlier, you know, the fans singing the entrance themes word for word. They sang Randy Orton's, they sang Jey Uso's, they sang Cody Rhodes's later as we get to that. But the fans' involvement really made this match maybe more than it was. It wasn't the greatest match in the world, but it wasn't a bad match. We see a better match out of Jey Uso, which was a very good thing to see after what happened at WrestleMania. We also see the seeds being planted for the Judgment Day and their possible breakup, CZ.
Yeah.
See JD McDonough run in, and Damian Priest is pissed off. What are you doing here? I told you I don't need you. Later on, we see Finn Balor run in. Damian Priest, what are you doing here? But as Damian Priest doesn't want their help, the help from JD McDonough solidifies him not losing by getting his foot on the rope on a Jey Uso near fall.
Yep.
Them at ringside pretty much helped him, or swayed the balance of getting him to win the match. And afterwards, he's not very happy after he beat Jey Uso, as he should be happy after a successful title defense as the world heavyweight champion. And lets JD McDonough and Finn Balor know about it, gets in each of their faces and kind of instructs them where to go for the pose after the match. So the seeds are being planted. No Dominic Mysterio sighting. He is out with legit injury, of course. Rhea Ripley is on the shelf healing. So you had the involvement of JD McDonough and Finn Balor in this match, and the seeds are being planted for a possible Judgment Day breakup. And I'm here for it. I'm interested to see where it goes and how it evolves from here. What about you, CZ?
I very much am, and my question to you is this: does this tease a face turn for Damian Priest, or do you think after the Judgment Day breaks up, he stays heel?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. Do they want to have him as a face, or it really showed face tendencies yesterday when he was like,
Yes.
I don't need your help down here. That screams face. I want to do this alone. Not too many heels say they want to do this or go this on their own. When you've got a group intact, you want to use those tools to make sure you you keep your title. You stay on top. I think back to the NWO. When did you ever see a Hulk Hogan in an NWO tell Scott Hall or Kevin Nash he didn't need their help or didn't want them down there? I mean, their help was encouraged, right? It was kind of expected.
Yeah. Get
You're
down
in the
here.
group,
Bring the spray paint.
Get out here. I need your help. So that's interesting. There could be a face turn for Damian Priest, and I think the crowd right now would be very receptive of it. I think you've got good enough heels in JD McDonough and Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio when he gets back that you could have a face Damian Priest and the crowd would buy into it and people would watch and there'd be some good matches there. I personally would love to see a Damian Priest Finn Balor matchup. They were such a great tag team for such a good amount of time, taking the belts from KO and Sammy and having a nice, long, sustained run as champions. Styles make fights, and those guys have contrasting styles. Priest,
Yes.
the big 6'7", 6'8" guy that can do so much, and Finn Balor, the smaller guy who can do just as much, maybe more than Damian Priest. So the seeds are being sown, and I'm here for it. for a Damian Priest face turn and taking on his old stablemates. And, you got to hope that Dom heals quick. And you got to figure, where does Liv Morgan, figure into all this after last week's backstage segment on Raw, where Liv Morgan and Dom both exit the same room in the background of an interview, kind of an Easter egg if you've been online this week or didn't see it happen live. So I think they're teasing the eventual face turn for Damian Priest here. It's just a matter of time, and I think a very matter of short time before we see it happen.
Let me ask you this. Can we see, is it possible for us to see a heel Damian Priest or face Damian Priest, heel Dominic Mysterio for that championship?
Oh, I think so. Is
Dom ready?
I think Dom could go out there. I don't think he's ready to be champion, but I think he could go out there and have a program with Damian, as long as he had JD McDonough and Finn Balor to help him out and take some of the stress off him. Yes. And all I could think about while watching Backlash yesterday was, could you imagine if Dominic Mysterio was there and the crowd reaction to Dom if he was there? I mean, the crowd reaction just to JD McDonough, no offense, and Finn Balor was something. But if Dominic was there, who has nuclear heat on American soil, was getting if he would have got the French reaction that the French were giving all day yesterday, that place would have been up for grabs. It's too bad Dom was injured and couldn't be a part of that show, the run-in angle yesterday, because I think the crowd would have really basked in that opportunity, and we as fans would have enjoyed and really been talking. We would have been talking about it, I think, right now, had Dom been there, just the reaction he got. But I think Dom could challenge Damian, but in doing so is going to need help from the other guys and possibly somebody else.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. You're talking about the crowd and how loud and boisterous they were. Didn't they get in trouble Friday? Didn't the police try to get involved because of the high noise levels coming out of that arena?
Yeah, sound level, decibel levels were going off, but I don't know if they got in trouble on Friday, they sure as hell got in trouble yesterday, because they were louder yesterday than they were for SmackDown. I went back last night and watched the tag team street fight again. I just wanted to see it again, because we had gotten back from the car show. We were doing some post-production from our interviews, the show we're going to bring you here a little bit later on. And I didn't get to see all the intricacies of that match the first time that I watched it. And I went back and watched it again. Watched it with my oldest. I'm like, you got to see this match. The crowd's crazy. And he couldn't believe how the crowd was. And I'm like, they're like this the whole show. They're nuts. They're into it. I'm like, this is how every show should be. But we as Americans are spoiled. And we get wrestling nearly every day of the week. You get some mundane crowds, but the French really gave us something to remember yesterday and made us thankful for something that we take for granted. And maybe hopefully the crowds in the future learn something from these guys and bring the energy that they brought, because that was something special. Oh,
100%. That was the best crowd I've ever seen that I can remember.
And I mean, and the crowd was even up for the women's tag title match. Not to fast forward too much, but you had the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane defending the WWE women's tag team titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And we've said this before on this show, and we'll say it right here again. The booking of Jade Cargill has been genius. It's been great. They're building her slowly but surely. They've got her in a tag team with undoubtedly the biggest female star on the roster. Now that Rhea Ripley's out, you can say Becky Lynch, but you can also say Bianca Belair. They're a tag team together, and they work. They complement each other. They both are body women wrestlers. They both look amazing. They both can go in the ring. They both have a look. Jade's getting her psychology down, and the crowd was into this match. Really over for Jade and Bianca, and the pop that these women get when they win the tag team titles, Jade and Bianca. This is Jade's first taste of gold in the WWE. since coming over from AEW, where she was.
And it's only her third match on a premium live event.
Only her third match on a premium live event. Well, is it third or fourth?
Royal Rumble.
Was WrestleMania the second one?
WrestleMania was the second one. There was not. She was not in Perth, or not in a match in Perth if I'm remembering correctly.
She's been on a few matches on SmackDown, but you did preface it by saying premium live matches. So you're right. And now she's a champion, and they can build something now with her and Bianca. Eventually down the road, they can have a rematch with the Kabuki Warriors, and it'll work. And right now, buy stock in Jade Cargill, because it's only going to go up from here for her, in my opinion, in the way that WWE is booking her and handling her. They're doing it the right way. They need to build another megastar, because guess what? Rhea Ripley's on the shelf, and injuries happen. And when that happens, it's time for other people to step up, and it's time for Jade. It's time for them to strap a rocket to Jade and shoot her to the moon, because I think she's going to get a monster push. This tag team title run is just the first in the many of big things in her future. And I just enjoy and love how they're booking her right now, and the future is bright. Buy your Jade Cargill stock right now. Just telling you right now. I am not a financial analyst by any means. I don't know the markets that well, but I know a megastar when I see one. And with Rhea Ripley on the shelf, she's a megastar. Buy stock in her. She's going to be on TV a bunch, and she's going to be getting a bunch of W's. Just watch.
And can I tell you what I'm looking forward to the most? How I want this to play out?
Sure.
I would love to see these two carry the tag titles until just before Mania. And then we have the 2024-2025 Mega Powers explosion, and have those two face each other at WrestleMania, because that match is going to be off the wall.
And they're going to build it right. They're going to build it right. It's going to be done right. Someone's going to lose the tag titles between the two of them. Other ones, I can see Bianca getting pinned. Jade turning heel. At least this is how I want to see it. I want to see Jade turn heel. I think you got to keep Bianca as the face. And there you go. Hey, you got pinned. You cost her titles. Guess what? You've got a mega match between two megastars, and you don't have to have a title involved. That's how big this could be if they build it right. In WrestleMania, with the announcement yesterday that WrestleMania is now in Vegas for WrestleMania 41, and now it's a couple weeks later. Got a couple more weeks to build towards that. It's not early April anymore. It's mid-April. Looks like April 19th and April 20th next year for WrestleMania 41 from Las Vegas. So we don't have our early WrestleMania, late March or early April anymore. It's more mid-April, so a couple more weeks to build. But that's got to be on the horizon to some of these riders. I know us fans have kind of seen it. Bianca Jade Cargill match would be interesting. Now that they're tag champs, build them up, break them down, have the all-out brawl, or have the have the feud at the end. Bingo. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I am right there with you. Now, Nick, as we transition into the main event, I want to go back to something you said while you were talking about Jade and Bianca.
Yep.
And that is the story being built well. I read online this morning what I considered a hot take, but I saw someone post that they felt that Cody versus AJ was better than Ospreay versus Danielson. And I'm going to argue in his favor. I don't necessarily agree, because that match is, in my opinion, still the match of the year. But we talked about it when we talked about that match an episode or two ago. How much better would it have been if it had a build like AJ versus Cody did?
I mean, you could argue that AJ and Cody had a better build. If that's where the hot take's coming from, I can see that, because AJ and Cody had a backstory. They had some good in-ring segments. Hey, I respect you, blah, blah, blah. Then on SmackDown on Friday night, they both went for the too sweet. AJ Styles slapped Cody across the face. This had some history. They both, and Michael Cole brought it up not only in this match, but also in the Street fight tag match was bringing up New Japan Pro Wrestling references. We are in a new age of wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Cole dropping Bullet Club references. Michael Cole talking about Tama Tonga's IWGP tag reigns. This never would have happened under Vince, and this is a wonderful thing. It's okay to acknowledge other wrestling organizations out there and what guys did for other promotions. It's okay. The sun came up today. We're all still here. So I think it was great to have this background story with AJ and Cody, and both being Bullet Club members, and both being leaders of Bullet Club at one point in their career, and both having that backstory, and both being NWA World Champions at some point. There was definitely a build to this. Did I see Cody losing this match after finishing the story to Roman Reigns? No. But I wanted to see how he was going to retain, and I would love to see these two run it back. I hope this isn't the last time we see AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes. I hope AJ is the perpetual pimple that keeps popping up on Cody's ass in his title run. I hope AJ is still there every few months just because he is so good in the ring. Tell me the last time you saw a bad AJ Styles match. I say that on this show a lot, and I don't think AJ Styles gets enough credit. Cody put him over a couple weeks ago in their feud, their lead up as the excellence of the modern day excellence of execution, a nod to the modern day Bret Hart. AJ doesn't have bad matches. In this match yesterday with Cody was great. The fact that the crowd bought into it and was into it from the get-go made it even better. The hot take of it being better than Ospreay and Danielson, I don't know. In ring, maybe not. But it definitely had a better build. It definitely had a better atmosphere. And they told a very good story, not knocking this match with Cody and AJ. I absolutely loved it. Outside of the tag team match that opened the show, it was my favorite match on the card. And definitely one to go back and watch. Styles is, no pun intended, phenomenal. He's amazing. He is so good at what he does. He can wrestle so many different styles. And Cody, I thought he upped Cody's game. I thought he made Cody go the extra mile, and we've seen some stuff out of Cody. Do we see a burning hammer from Cody yesterday?
That was from AJ, actually.
Okay, that was from AJ. We haven't seen that before. We haven't seen that recently.
That's because it was one of Vince's banned moves.
One of Vince's banned moves, but I love seeing that move. I love seeing something we don't see out of somebody to go the extra mile to try to win that title. It was great. This was great theater yesterday between Cody and AJ. Absolutely loved it. If anybody wants to poo-poo on it, I'm here to defend it because I thought it was great.
I do too. I really do. They put on a tremendous show. And, we're talking about moves that we haven't seen in a while. WWE 2K24 has me spoiled. One of Cody's moves is a vertebreaker, which we haven't seen since, I want to say it was Shane Helms who did it last in WWE.
Shane Helms was in the ring. Shane Helms was in the ring yesterday too.
Yes, he was. He was helping break up the bloodline fight.
He was in the pull apart. Yes, Sugar Shane Helms was in there.
But I would love to see a comeback of the vertebreaker. If it's done correctly, it's not going to hurt anybody. But I just love that this new era we're seeing, like you said, references to New Japan, references to other companies. The TNA Women's Champion has been brought into WWE twice.
Yep.
Two different champions, but the Women's Champion has come into WWE twice with that belt, and Mickie James and Jordan Grace.
Yep.
Jordan Grace. It's a new world. It's a brave new world we're entering in the world of wrestling, and I'm just strapped in for the ride.
Yeah, wrestling's at a high point right now. I mean, we didn't think that Backlash would be able to follow WrestleMania the way it did, and it showed us it could. And on the other side of things with AEW, they've got something fresh cooking right now. They've got a big angle that they're trying, and we're going to give it some time and space to breathe. But everything is, if you're a wrestling fan right now, now's the time to really take this in and enjoy it. It's all really good right now. And the benefactor of it is the fans. The fans being a part of all this and getting to see all this different stuff. It's a new era. Hats off to Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary yesterday. I thought they just did a great job with every match. You can tell they're having the time of their lives. and it bleeds through in their work. So kudos to them, and kudos to all the production team involved. Kudos to everybody on Backlash. It was a great show.
Yes, 100%. And that's been the story of WWE and their premium live events, is just great shows, one after the other. I love it. I can't wait.
And what do we have next? Is King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring coming up in Jeddah, Memorial Day weekend, the next premium live event?
Correct.
So we've seen the announcement of 8 matches on Raw for King of the Ring qualifiers. They'll probably have 8 on SmackDown, so a full 16-person field for men and women. They're going to buzz through these matches, so keep an eye on them. One that really sticks out, I can't wait for Raw, is Gunther Sheamus. That is going to be a banger, folks. Those guys have a great history in the ring together, and as the King of the Ring qualifier, it's really gonna kick some ass, I think. So I'm really looking forward to that on Monday night. But I think that puts a bow on this show. Backlash was great. We had a great time yesterday at the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show. We'll bring that stuff to you here in the future. Interviews with Coco Beware, Hollywood from the original Glow promotion of the 80s, The Godfather, Fred Ottman, you know him as Tugboat, Typhoon. I like
the
Shockmaster. We get to the bottom of that story. All that and more coming up on the future episode of the Card Subject to Change podcast.
That'll be later this week. We just gotta record and do a little editing. I know Nick and I don't usually edit because, as the Macho Man used to say on Monday Night Raw, we like things raw, uncooked, uncensored.
We do. We don't edit too much on this show. We make a lot of mistakes and it shows, but we don't edit on this show usually very much.
And this is a different beast because obviously we couldn't record with these guests in the studio. So we're going to be going back in the studio a little later today to do a pre-record, and you can look for the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show episode coming up later this week. And then we'll be back on Sunday. We're not sure what time yet. We're working out the details with our guest, who is one Sabotage, Sean Logan. He'll be joining us. We'll hear his story in wrestling. And after that, we've got the King of the Valley, one Christian Rose.
Dreamwave Wrestling Champion. Can't wait to have him on. He was on episode 116, was it?
I believe so, yes.
With Connor Hopkins, a little sneak peek of the champion Christian Rose. We're going to have him in studio here in just a couple weeks, pick his brain on his wrestling journey, his wrestling story. We're excited here to bring you these next few episodes, just like every episode we do here on the Card Subject to Change podcast.
We will see you next time right here. So thank you for tuning in and have a good rest of your day.
Au revoir.